but he wants me to look like I'm just like this lying person. And I guess I did bring it up out of anger to get back at him.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Talking guys about Christina and Henry, and just dealing with their particular issue right now, which is to do with dishonesty, the lies, It's a bit mad, yeah? If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for a notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals, you got the minerals. Alright, cool. Let's get into the video, yeah? Let's talk about it. Alright, so, dealing with, obviously, Henry and Christina, I think it's been one of the interesting conversations at this particular conjunction. Because, obviously, you know, when Henry confronted Christina in the last episode, things didn't go the way that it wanted to. Things didn't go the way that I guess he wanted it to go down. And it became a bit of a messy Ecton mess, okay? If you don't know what Ecton mess is, it's a bit of a dessert. Anyway, so now with Henry obviously confronting Christina in this particular episode, he spoke about the fact that because he had spoke to her about her dishonesty, she came forth, and he felt like she came forth to disclose the fact that she felt like he was gay because it was a retaliation. I don't want to really go deep into this because I think this is a really deep subject. I really believe as well at the same time that, yes, I believe that Christina brought up the gay situation of a text that she got from a friend or whatever as a way of trying to deflect from the fact that she had been called out.
Said, oh, from the get-go, I got this text, like, what does this mean? Like, it's ridiculous. But we weren't communicating.
And in fact, she admits to the fact that she doesn't believe the text about him being gay, which also makes me lead to believe the text doesn't exist. Why? Because she couldn't present the evidence to Henry anyway. Henry asked for the text. She said she hasn't got the text. Like, for me, that shows me a level of pettiness, but it also shows me a level of defensiveness. That when you're under a pressure and attack, you feel to lash out. And your lash out is to then begin to try to level the person in front of you by laying an accusation to make them feel like they're on the same path as you, number one. And number two, to level that the reason why the person may not like you or desire you is an external fault, right? Because then that will make us not think about ourselves and look within ourselves as to what we may have contributed towards the issue. We are looking for faults at time when things go wrong because we need something to blame so that we can also make changes in the future. If we don't know what went wrong, we don't know how to change it. And therefore we feel powerless in future because we're like, this is beyond me because the last time, you know, I couldn't control the narrative and this thing was happening and I couldn't do nothing about it.
Try to make it work. But I don't know what to do. So...
right? So it's understandable, okay? It's understandable that we try to control things, not understandable that you lie, okay? And so the craziest thing is that in a conversation previously, as Matter First Sight showed, is that she admitted to being a liar in the past. She's a flamboyant liar in the past. So when you admit that, obviously, Henry weighing up the different things that have happened, he's going to think that you're what? A liar. Because he's going to think that you've lied about a situation. Right?
I'm not gonna lie, like, I used to just be like a big, like, flamboyant liar, like, who cares what's going on? Still like dramatics, but in a different way.
He's going to think that you've lied about who you are and what you said you are. Okay? And I really feel like with the way that Christina's been going on, in regards to the feelings towards Henry, has been one of, you know, trying to keep face, as he said, to the outer world. And then within, trying to, I guess, find her feet in the relationship. And I can't just say it's only her fault. Now, I'm only talking about the fact that she has reacted very poorly. And I mean toxically, right? You leveling someone as gay And it's a lie, and it's pretty much a lie, because I'm sorry, you ain't got the text result for it. You wouldn't have deleted it. You'd have showed it to him. You forgot man's birthday. Like, yo, like, you're moving mad. Yeah, you go out at 2 p.m. and you come back at 3 a.m. in the morning. We know these are passive aggressive moves that are made to make the person feel like you're trying to almost make the person feel jealous, to hopefully get a reaction, to make the person feel like they care about you. Okay, it's a very old school, young school move. When I say young school, as in youngster, yeah? When you're a youngster, you learn these behaviors because they're things that you did when you were a child. They're immature movements. As a child tries to get the attention of the parent, they do things sometimes to annoy the parent, to get the parent to pay attention. And so the same thing happens in our relationships, that we try to be juvenile, and then we try to do things that will cause the person to feel a love for us, or a desire for us, or an intense emotion towards us, because then that will give us an indication that they care. So sometimes, like for instance, going out at 2 p.m., coming at 3 a.m. in the morning is a way to get you to say, hey, why were you out so late? I was worried. What the frick's going on? And that person now feels like they're loved, because it's a toxic way of receiving the desire, or receiving an affection from the other partner. They take the energy they're given as affection, okay? And they're just wanting that person's attention. Now, the text situation, again, is a part of that juvenile process. It's juvenile to go into lying mode, to be able to get the person to react, hopefully, and say, I'm not gay. Here's the reason why I am not desiring you.
Confirming to herself, like, he's not into me because he's gay, or, whatever. And I think that she just felt like that would sum up why we struggle. That would sum up my attraction, or lack thereof, to her.
Okay? And so she's looking for the answer as to why this is happening. Okay? Again, it's not acceptable. We're just trying to break down the behavior. And honestly, like, she ain't no better than Karen with the toxic behavior. Now, I admit that Henry's not the easiest person to deal with, and I'll be very frank. Henry's lack of conversational ability at times, when he can do it with other people, is concerning. Why is it you're able to talk to other people and feel comfortable? Although I have seen the same head turning and head dips with Woody. Right? When the conversation gets difficult, Henry struggles. This is the truth. When the conversation gets difficult, Henry struggles. So when he was talking to Woody, you saw that he turned away his head at several points.
Loaded question of sorts. She really, honestly, hasn't been here much.
Yeah. What? No. What you mean? Yeah.
Points in the conversation, because he felt like he was exposing some truths, and even then he was being round about it as well. And when he too, when he was leaking information, not only to Woody, but when he's leaking it to the boys and saying about his situation, again, he's not a mean person similar to Christina. He was leaking information in a roundabout way. So not being very direct about what was happening, but being very roundabout, to the point that Bennett got confused. Bennett was like, wait, what's going on? I don't even know what's going on. Like, you're telling me a story about you're not exposing anything? Like, I don't know where you're at, what you're on, but you're not really explaining nothing.
He wants me to look like I'm just like this lying person. And
he admitted that he felt like Christina tried to save face, and which what does happen later on. And then she admitted that she made an excuse as to why she did what she did, basically. And it's because he wasn't communicating. And it's like, yo, you see what I'm saying about the juvenile thing? That when especially if you've gone through very bad relationships and the thing about toxic relationships is that there are toxic relationships that show us juvenile behavior.
And I guess I did bring it up out of anger to get back at him. I should have just said, oh, from the get-go, I got this text, like, what does this mean? Like, this...
Right? Little boys trying to do whatever they can to win and take over a relationship so they get whatever they want out of it. And the person who's on the receiving end, can go into their shell, also become similar, join them if you can't beat them kind of mentality, depending on the person. And so what we're seeing right now is Christina's, if I can't beat them, I join them behavior. Right? Saying that because I couldn't get through to you to communicate, that's why I did what I did. Baby, you didn't remember the man's birthday, cuz. Was that on purpose as well to get his reaction? Was that on purpose? You know what I'm saying? Like, and for me as well, the fact that Christina later on was voicing the concerns on the table around about the situation between, Brett and Olivia. Again, it was like, yo, Christina, keep your mouth shoo.
At all. But I felt those vibes early on. He was not in this for the right reason. I'm not gonna lie, I've had a few concerns about him.
I always say this, keep your mouth shoo. It wasn't your situation to express how you felt about Brett. Really and truly, didn't need to. Let that be in a private quarters of conversation between you girls or whatever if you're discussing it, but not on the table that way you discussed it. No one else was saying their truthfulness of how they felt about Brett and Olivia, whether they agreed or didn't agree. You understand? So even Amani respectively spoke about the fact that Olivia, she was on Olivia's side, but she respectively discussed that in the group. You know, and Christina didn't do that. No filter. No ability to say, listen, the way I'm going to discuss this is going to be a little bit offensive. But she didn't. Made everyone feel awkward. And to a point where you're discussing other people's faults, but you yourself have your faults. And it's funny because obviously she confronted Olivia as well about Brett. And she was right. I won't lie to you. Some of the things that she saw were right about Brett. I won't lie to you. And I respect that. But again, as wisdom dictates, you have to be able to address the situation in a certain manner. Yeah? Because you're not trying to hurt Olivia. You're just trying to get her to understand what you see. And so when you're saying, obviously, I've dealt with arseholes in the past, blah, 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 blah. Yes, Woody's laughing because he's been told information by, Henry.
Yeah. Because I wish she was here. Like, I want Olivia here.
And so he's looking at it going, the double standards on what you're saying right now is mad. You're telling me that you're going to talk about someone else's situation, but you yourself are doing the exact same thing. You're moving mad. How are you going to talk about another person like Brett, call him an arsehole, when you yourself are lying about being gay, you're lying about where you live, you're lying about things, and you're talking about someone else being an arsehole? That's very rich. And so it's almost like the blackness in your eye you can't see, but you're happy to try and remove it from someone else's eye. The hypocrisy is crazy, darling. Right? And that happens again when someone's not very introspective. When they've been hurt, they refuse to look inwardly, but they're showing, they will continue to maneuver outwardly without looking within oneself. Because to look within oneself means to stop, pause, and take time and look at the more painful situations one has been through. Okay? And we'll discuss part 2 because we'll talk about her letter. And again, that will further kind of explain the point we're making about the trauma that some of these people have gone through in terms of toxic relationships that are beginning to play out in their relationships now. Is it an excuse? No, but we're trying to explain their behavior.
Henry is trying to talk about everybody else except for his. I don't like that. Like, I want to know how you feel about your marriage.
When they're talking, I see that Henry was called out by Amani, and I think rightly so again. Henry had given, commentary on everybody else, not in a rude way, but given commentary on everybody else and their situation and da-da-da, but hadn't spoken about his own. And when she asked him about what he had learned, he kind of dodged it. And Amani was right to call him out. You don't get to sit there, Henry, no offense, I don't care. You can't sit there and not be talking and talk about someone else's things and not talk about your own. Sir, you must deal with your own. Sir, you must deal with your own. You will not get away with it by not discussing it. You must discuss. And so for me, watching it, I was like, okay, cool. I get it. Like, I'm seeing the situation with... Henry and Christina, and I get that Henry wants to probably not talk about the situation because it means exposing her. But bro, you can't be commentating on everybody else and not have your own situation spoken about. Especially if it was about you personally and what you've learned, not necessarily about Christina. And again, that's the closed book that Christina's talking about. He doesn't open up. And so how is it that your personal thing that is not even about Christina, you can't talk about? Sir, you need to fix up on that. That needs to change. And we get it. When you're comfortable, you're able to express, but you've got to be able to be introspective and discuss this with a group because you're talking about everybody else's, son. You understand? And so, so his point about what he learned was about committing and seeing it through. So the reason why he's on the show still is because he's committed and he's seeing it through. Once the 8 weeks are there, man done up. Yeah? Once the 8 weeks are there, he's done with this. 8 weeks, sorry. Once D-Day is there, he's quit. He's done. He's finished. He's committed to the process, and once it's finished, it's finished. For me, he signed out weeks ago, months ago even, right? When he felt like she was impatient and rude. He signed out. And unfortunately, I keep saying this, guys, as well. Certain things that we do just can't come back from. You know, so it's very important that you watch your tone, your tongue, and what you say, because certain things cannot be taken back. And so Christina kind of threw a little bit of a shot back, I guess, by saying, you know, she learned that she needs somebody who desires her. And maybe it's not even a shot. Maybe it's true realism. She genuinely needs somebody who's going to desire her, because I don't see Henry ever desiring her. I have not seen at any point him desiring her. Let's be freaking real. No, let's be freaking real. Henry hasn't at any point desired her. He couldn't say it. He couldn't, you know, he has to be forced to say that she looks pretty. Listen, he doesn't fancy her, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he's got the same problem Karen's got. He don't fancy her, bro. He don't find her attractive like that. Cause the way you're talking with your friends out of females, you had no problem talking. Swift and swift and swift. So for me to see that, Henry, I'm like, nah, cuzzy. Keep it all the way 100, sir. I don't think you're being totally honest yourself. I think you were. I don't know how invested you were at the beginning. I don't know how invested you were. That too, I know she didn't create a safe space, but still, bro, I'll be bro. You know, and then obviously the fact that Woody at the end as well kind of was feeding the situation that he couldn't do the situation. It's like, Woody, listen, bro, please don't expose nothing, bro. Keep it stum. Yeah, it's alright, bro. I get why you want to say what you're saying, but bro, at the end of the day, you know, Henry doesn't need that in his corner on a public basis. I understand why you're saying what you're saying, but I think two needs tango. As you know yourself, Miles, Woody, that, you know, Henry didn't express that he desired his wife. She didn't know that. Similar to how Miles didn't know that. She did not know that either. So I can't, even though I know she's a bit of a liar, and even though I know she's a dishonest person, and even though I know she's temperamental and impatient, at the same time, I must give her some grace, because Henry was not the easiest person to deal with. Your lack of ability to open up, sir, is causing problems. Yeah, and I know she wanted a man that would dominate and take control and be leadership like Karen did, but at least give her something, bro. You know what I'm saying? Give her something. You never expose yourself to be vulnerable, to be able to show her that you're willing to go to that place of depth, of vulnerability and nakedness. And so therefore, she was also not going to go there. It is what it is, guys. Guys, if you have a different opinion, comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. And we appreciate you. Still locked, still loaded.